going to continue our program with Fynn Mazurkiewicz from IT for Kids, who will discuss extending Blockly for teachers. And this is going to be one of our remote presentations. So.
Lovely, thank you so much. Hello, welcome everybody. Yeah, my name is Fynn. I'm currently based in Germany. So we have a toasty 80 degrees Fahrenheit here, and I've traveled quite a long way to join you. My story is quite simple, and it's also my motivation for being around IT education. I got to program when I was 11, and then I had a lot of amazing experiences. I became a software architect for Germany's biggest voice AI project for a couple of years. And yeah, all those experiences really shaped me. It shaped my way of thinking, and it's that kind of like computational thinking that we are bringing forward with IT for Kids. So today I would like to speak to you about how we use Blockly specifically to help teachers educate children. Sorry about that. Yeah, so please, next slide, and I will tell you a little bit about IT for Kids and our product. So IT for Kids is an NGO for early age coding. We specifically focus on primary school. However, we do have some outreach programs that go also into earlier age, as well as going all the way up to the end of high school, pretty much. And we are really trying to go along the whole chain of education, which is a big kind of thing in Germany, that you have one program that kind of runs alongside the whole every year of school. So with IT for Kids, every primary school can deliver quality computer science education with minimal effort. That's really the value that we bring to the schools, and we do so by helping them get used to our product, which is a teaching software as well as a whole kind of platform. So the platform comes with lesson plans, worksheets, videos, and the software comes with some cloud features. We have progress analytics, some teacher controls, just to help the teachers find their way around teaching computer science. Yeah, so today I would like to speak to you specifically on how we changed block-based programming, or Blockly, so that it would work a little bit better in the classroom, and specifically also with teachers that are very potentially afraid or that have very little knowledge around the whole subject of programming and IT education. So please, let's go to the next slide and take a look at a fundamental problem when it comes to building programming software that can be used in the classroom. The main problem that we identified is that there is a scale of complexity, and that different user groups require very different kind of complexities so that they can use your product effectively. So when it comes to content creators, so people creating learning experiences or games, or all of the kind of stuff that you can come up with, then you really require this in-depth set of tools. So you require maybe a content upload, and you require some animation, stuff like that. And so you really need to know a lot of about the details. When it comes to the teachers, though, they are trying to get to a lesson goal that they want to reach. So they have a specific goal set in mind, like you would do in a lesson plan. And so you somehow need to restrict the solution space that the children can work in. Because if you have those in-depth tools, you have the problem that one child is going to be all the way over here, kind of struggling to get the basic concept, while another child is going to be all the way ahead of you using a block that you might not know yourself how to use it or what that statement means in that context. So teachers can get overwhelmed very quickly. And if you restrict the solution space that is available to the students, that's going to help them achieve the learning goal and feel comfortable around teaching computer science, and really lower that barrier of entry. And when it comes to the students, they also require a personalized interface, because like I just mentioned, all of the children have a different kind of skill level, especially in primary school. The brains and every kind of like the biological development is very different depending on the child, and that's totally okay. Some just, they grew up a little bit faster, or all of those differences. And we try to build an education system where this can be kind of acknowledged and used so that every child gets the maximum return on its education. And you can do so by the help of using media and software, of course, in the classroom. So that's really what we focused on also, is that the students can get a more personalized skill level based kind of interface for them. Yeah, So that's pretty much what we identified. And now we made a couple of changes to Blockly to support this kind of scales. So go to the next slide, please. These are really the 4 key changes. There's a couple more. I cherry picked it a little bit, but the first thing we did is that we kind of set out for a student or a creator mode. So you can create learning experiences with an unrestricted interface, and then you can, within this creator interface, you can restrict what the students can actually do and what they can't do. So you're restricting the solution space. Some examples of that include, for example, hiding or freezing certain blocks, which is a functionality that Blockly itself, as far as I know at least, doesn't really support at the moment. So you can create a block and it can be frozen in space so the children can kind of completely see it, but it's not possible at all to interact with it. It's more like that's how we did it. So you can look behind the scenes, but you can't break it. And the same goes for hiding the blocks, where you can pretty much say, okay, that's a solution that I need so that the level is actually engaging, but the children don't need to see that part. I want to kind of hide that complexity away from them. Same goes for the toolbox, which we made configurable so that for every character in the level, you can decide what kind of blocks the children have to solve the given level. And we also added generally some environment permissions, like, for example, adding certain character costumes, stuff like that. So we heavily bought into a lot of the ideas from scratch, which is an amazing software. As you probably all know, we've been using it also for a long time. And then we noticed this kind of gap when it comes to teaching. So that's kind of why we saw the innovation, and the teachers here are really seeing that as well, that kind of advantage when it comes to restricting this. Yeah, many words, but I think we can just go to the demo that I brought with me. It's a small video, so maybe we can get that on screen now. That would be great.
Okay, let's take a look at how we leverage those functionalities in Cubi. This is the interface, and as you can already see, it's very clean and very simple. Actually, it's also a very simple level, so we only have access to the movement blocks right now. The goal of the level is that Tony, a team member of ours, needs to actually do some class service and water the plant, for example. So if I play the level, you can see Tony says that, oh, I need to water the plant. So the plant is over here. So I think we should just walk there really quickly. So I can just reset the level and have Tony walk over to the plant, and the plant is very happy and says thank you. So that is how the whole level kind of works. Actually, there is a hidden Easter egg here also. So if I click on the sponge, you can see that it has some secret functionality. But what's cool about that is that I can now actually not only click on Tony, I can also click on the plant to see how it was created. And you can see here that for the plant, we can actually not change anything. So we could add some more code, but we cannot change this code. We can see how it was written, but we cannot make adaptations here. So I get some insight into the programming of the level, but I cannot break it, which is already safeguarding me. And that's really just one of the ways where you can really see that having these kind of restrictions is super beneficial. Also, same goes for the sponge. It was an object that I can click, but it's not listed here in the character list right now. And that's because I'm in the student mode. So in the student mode, I'm restricted to the learning experience. But if I actually go onto the menu, I have a lot of different buttons, and my favorite button is the advanced mode, where I can just switch to. It could also be the creator mode. Sometimes we call it the teacher mode. Depends on who we speak with. But if I enter the password, which is always just IT for kids, with the 4 as a number, lowercase, and I click OK, then I can switch into the creator mode for this level. And now you can see there's loads more actions that are actually available. For example, I can now take a look at how the sponge was programmed. And you can see here that, in fact, yeah, there is some code that makes the sponge turn and generates the Easter egg in the end. And not only that, but I also do get to modify, for example, the blocks that are available on the plant, as well as its costumes. So I could now right click and I can unlock those blocks. And if I now go back into the student mode, the student will be able to edit them as well. And the same goes for, if I go back to the advanced mode, I can also take these blocks and I can lock them, and then I can hide them, which will make them kind of turn dark. And when I switch back into the student mode, then they will actually not be visible at all. And this allows our creators to build amazing learning experiences, but the students can solve them with just a few blocks. And speaking of blocks, of course, we can also change the toolbox. So we can change any of the blocks that are available for any of the like the characters on screen, which means that for each of the characters, you can also pick a different set of blocks that are relevant. And there's even another functionality that allows you to kind of create functions and then give them out as blocks. So that means that our creators can, for example, we have a level where there is some car racing going on, which has a lot to do with physics, but maybe you don't want to speak about physics so much. So what we do is we simplify all of the gravity, all of the speed, and all of the physics basically down to simple function blocks that the children can then use as part of their solution. So that really allows us to cut in so many ways that you can really restrict the solution space while maintaining this this wide in-depth control for the creators, which is really, really lovely. Additionally, you can also set some permissions for each of the characters. So for example, I can switch around if a character is draggable or not. This is actually critical. If I make Tony draggable real quick and I go back into the student mode, something that a lot of students do because they work with tablets is the intuitive thing, which is taking their finger and just dragging Tony. So if we tell them, hey, please get Tony to the plant, what they will do is just drag it over. And at that point, you've already lost them, especially if you're a teacher that doesn't know where you're going. So that's how the software really helps them make the most of the subject.
Yeah, that's pretty much parts of what we've added. There are a couple of other integrations, like we've integrated with the Experience API, which is an e-learning based analytics interface, so that we can evaluate the progress there as well. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the talk. We can go to the next slide, which actually matters. So already to the final one, pretty much. Well, there is the final slide. I would pretty much say, if you're interested to hear more about this, or if this has been any kind of interest to you, get in touch. We can connect on LinkedIn. We can connect on email, pretty much anywhere. I'm super excited to speak with you about this topic. And yeah, I'll also be speaking tomorrow about how we actually get the teachers to use the software, because once they are in line with teaching IT education, they notice quickly that the software is pretty helpful. But to get them to the point where they're actually gonna kind of take up all of their remove all the fears and kind of the hurdles, stuff like that. That's where we have some strategies. So I'll talk about those strategies and how to make teachers teach IT in Germany, anyways, in Europe tomorrow. Yeah. So thank you so much for the talk, and I'm looking forward to your questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Fynn. Anyone watching virtually, please add your questions now to the chat, and I will read those aloud for you. And any questions in the room, I see a few people doing it. Yes, make your way to a mic, and we can start with Christopher.
Yeah, hi, Fynn. I was just curious. You talked on one of your earlier slides about the sort of creator versus student thing, and we showed that in the demo. You also talked a bit about personal, sort of like personalizing the interface for individual students, and I was wondering if you'd like to share a little bit more about how you've done that.
Yeah, sure. So there are a couple of things that I didn't get to show today or in the video. We've actually been adding a lot of kind of different versions for each of the levels, so that you can pick for each of the student skill levels which version you want to play. So what I showed you today was actually the least kind of support. But we actually have some levels or some versions of the same level where you would have, for example, a video recording or just a couple of hints, or maybe even differences or even different kind of hints and tips popping up. And those can be customized so that for each level, you have a couple of versions depending on the skill level. And we use those tutorial features and those hint bubbles and stuff like that to support the children so that they can kind of pick what feels right for them, but it could also be a choice made by the teacher. I didn't get to show it, but if you look around our unfortunately very German website, then you can find also some of the tutorial versions online.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. I see a question on the live stream that says, this is from Matthew Bishop, Fynn, how did you build the locked blocks feature?
So about the specific details, unfortunately, I didn't wrote the code. We have a team of 6 lovely developers that are doing this. Most of them are doing this on a volunteer side, so be nice on them when you break the software, please, Neil, and everyone who might be looking at it now. But pretty much the way it's built is that we have, I think, a hook system that we created before the plugin system was actually there. And we just extended Blockly in that way. So we extended the right-click menu to show this option. And then I think we just changed the renderer and the properties on the blocks. So there's, I think, a property on the block that says like locked. And then that's just going to change how the blocks look like. And then if you right-click a block, we can ask for that property and just pretty much disable interaction with those blocks. So I think that's how we did it. But if you want the details or the code, I can send it to you anytime.
Great. Maribeth?
I was going to ask if you had forked Blockly to make this stuff happen, but it sounds like you've at least patched it. So that gives me an idea.
Yes, pretty much. So I think that was actually a topic also earlier in our breakout that we are wondering what parts of this we should kind of contribute back, because we didn't really have that kind of connection to this part of the community yet. But if we're getting the feedback that would be interesting to see also in the main trunk, then that's definitely something that we can do. So but of course I know there's a lot of design decisions, so I'm not saying we can just add that. I'm sure the Blockly team has lots of opinions on this because it might be a loaded topic. I'm not sure, but if you need the code and bring it into the trunk, that's easy to do.
Cool. I was also wondering, when you talk about the content creators, are those like curriculum writers that work with your organization, or are these like outside people that can write their own levels and use them?
It's actually both. So everyone is just as free as within any of the other softwares to write their own level and to save it online and stuff like that. We have not talked about that so much. I think I will talk about it a little bit tomorrow on how we do that. But it's mostly our curriculum builders that are using the really in-depth stuff. But we have a couple of other NGOs and nonprofits that also work with this system, because all of them face the challenge that they need to find the people to teach the subject. And the lower the barrier of entry for this, the better, regardless of if it's a teacher or, let's say, a university student that you want to teach this to children. So they just identified that they can also use the software. And we have some levels that are about very different subjects. Like, for example, we have a partner that has created some levels around economical education, like talking about how society works and like how certain jobs work, and they've built some stuff around that as well. So everybody can use it, and they do.
Cool, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Any more questions in the room? All right, thank you so much, Fynn, and we will see you tomorrow.